public health care, US, the US system. We talked about the basics, and then we worked our way up, and now we're at the national level. When we come back global, it'll be the international level. But anyway, the US spends the most on health insurance of any nation. Normally, if you spend the most on something, you expect it to be the best. iPhones are the most expensive cell phones out there. Are they the best? I guess it's a matter of opinion, right? What do you want out of it? What features are most important to you? Also, at that level of price, it's about prestige, showing off that you can afford this kind of a thing. That helps in your like social maneuvering when people think you're rich or richer than you really are. Well, how about baseball? The most expensive baseball team in terms of salary, I guess, is the New York Yankees. I'm assuming so. I haven't really checked. Does that mean the Yankees are the best baseball team in America? Anybody here follow baseball? I don't know. I don't follow baseball. But that's just an analogy. I'm assuming that if you ask somebody in Boston, they're going to say, no, most of them are going to say, no, the Yankees are not the best. The Red Sox are the best in their opinion. So, but okay, let's use metrics. How many times has the Yankees won the World Series? And I would say, I don't know, I guess they've won it a few times, but at these price levels, maybe they should be winning it every time, but they're not. So we spend the most out of any nation on healthcare. Does that mean we have the best healthcare? Actually, no, we don't. So what the hell is going on? Why, in fact, according to this 2019 study, now Bloomberg did the study, all right? So it is a rich white guy in charge of a newspaper organization. So take that with a grain of salt. But they have to use like basic data to justify their conclusions. And U.S. is not even in the top 10. It's ranked down there in the 35. And guess what? If you rate into it, you find that they really only ranked about 35 nations. So they actually ranked the U.S. dead last. Is this politics? Because Michael Bloomberg is known to be a Democrat, a liberal? Maybe, but at the very least, he should have ranked the U.S. a little higher. But that is all the way at the bottom. But here, the Statistica.com, I don't know who they are, but they rank the U.S. 69th, and this is like out of 100 nations. This one, the Commonwealth Fund, you rank the U.S. 11th in healthcare out of like 12 nations, the 12 best. So either way, though, we're not coming up number one. What the hell is going on? One of the problem is that the U.S. healthcare system is capitalist. It's based on capitalism, not pure capitalism. That's why some people will say, actually, we're in a communist country. No, obviously, we're not in a communist country. But for their standard to be counted as capitalist, they have like a very high standard of capitalism. But we really are a capitalist country, and the best is really reserved for those who can afford it. The ones with the money get the best, and then the ones without get everything else. The problem is that even today, in 2023, the average American family can go bankrupt. So the average American family with an average American income, average dreams, they have 1.5 cars and 1.2 size garage. They have 1.4 kids. You know, the average American family, everything's running along, living the dream, building for a future. And then one day, something big bad happens medically. And then suddenly, everything just goes down the drain. Their cards get maxed out. They have to get a second mortgage, and then they finally lose the house. Their credit rating is slashed because they get $1 million medical bill, and the health insurance they thought would bail them out abandons them through some technicality. So that is a state of U.S. healthcare today. People without health insurance are in a different kind, get themselves into a different kind of jam. If you don't have the money to buy health insurance, then what happens is the you don't go to your regular medical checkup because you can't afford that doctor. But that means what's the point of the annual checkup, even for people with no complaints? It's to make sure that there's nothing lurking under the radar, nothing creeping along under your ability to detect it that may grow to something more serious later. By going to the doctor at least once a year, there is a window of opportunity to catch it before it becomes more serious. And the more serious a medical problem becomes, the more expensive it is, the more complicated it is, the more painful it is to fix it. So even if you think, I'm perfectly fine, I have no medical conditions, I have no complaints, why should I go to a doctor? I would say that is the best reason to go to a doctor at least once a year, just for a checkup. So a blood test, expert physical exam will be there to detect if anything is there that you didn't notice. And here's your chance to nip it at the bud, as to borrow a phrase, before it becomes more serious. Instead, if you don't see a doctor at least once a year, then something that is slowly lurking under the radar, like a chronic disease like high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, then eventually by the time you do notice it, it is now far along. It is now moved down the path, the steps, and so it is now going to be more expensive to take care of. And if you couldn't afford going to the doctor in the first place, you're not going to afford this treatment. You're going to think, I'll just tough it out. Or even worse, you go on the internet to try to find a cheap or free solution to this. And there now you are game. You are the game. You are vulnerable to the social media influencers out there trying to sell a product, the advertisements, a bunch of people telling you, ignore what your doctor says, don't believe the corrupt medical industry, do what we tell you because we can tell the truth. We can prove it by being this attractive. So I'm attractive, that's why you should believe me. You should buy my product, this will cure that symptom. And all these things are doing on the internet is addressing symptoms. Symptoms are just the sign of the root cause. None of them are actually addressing the root cause. So maybe you take it, maybe you do feel better for a little while, but that doesn't fix what's actually making you sick. Or maybe the good feeling you're feeling is from placebo effect. The placebo effect is everywhere. You cannot, and don't think you're too smart to be tricked by the placebo effect. The reason why it's so powerful is because we as emotional animals are vulnerable to the placebo effect, no matter what your IQ, your intelligence, your experience is. So that's why you should. But anyway, this poor guy goes on the internet, buys something, tries or buys home random ingredients out of the supermarket, mixes it together just like the YouTube video told him to, and then he convinces himself he feels better, but he doesn't, and then sometime later he feels even worse, and then finally he goes to the emergency room. Finally, it feels so bad, it hurts so bad, he can't even go to work. He finally, in desperation and fear, calls 911, ends up in the emergency room, where he gets the $1 million workup. The $1 million workup is a phrase for the emergency room, because why are you there? They don't know, so they have to make sure you're not going to die on them, so they check everything. They head to toe, x-rays, blood tests, the whole works. The purpose of the emergency room is to stabilize the patient, not to cure patients. The purpose of the emergency room is not to cure you of the problem. It is to stabilize you so that it is safe for you to get home safely, so that you can show up at the clinic follow-up with the expert, who will then actually take care of your root problem and address it properly. But if this person can't afford to go to their regular doctor for checkups, how can they go to this specialist? How can they afford these prescriptions they got sent home with? They just think, I went to the ER, they must have cured me, and then he goes on with his life. But the problem is, a little bit later, the problem is still there. It comes back. So now it becomes this recurring cycle of going to the ER and then not following up, going to the ER, not following up. And then a couple of weeks later, he gets the bill in the mail. Ambulances nowadays cost $1,000. The typical stay in the emergency room costs $10,000 or $20,000, and that's just to be there. And then any more will add to the bill. So it's not unheard of to get a $100,000 bill or $200,000 bill, $250,000 bill for one trip to the emergency room. And this person can't pay it. So what happens to this money? Well, the hospital eats it. Maybe Medicare will pay for some of it. Maybe while he was there, the social worker hooked him up with some kind of charity service. But most of that money just has to be eaten by the hospital. Maybe the federal grants and state grants will help pay for some of it. Pennies on the dollar, but most of that money just gets absorbed into the system. And don't say, oh, well, problem solved, right? It's zeroed out, problem solved. No, the money was spent, and now it's not reimbursed, and that is part of the problem. Everybody agrees. Oh, here it is. I went ahead of myself. Everybody agrees that healthcare financing in the U.S. is broken. Talk to any expert. They will all agree what we have in this country is broken. And that's why we pay so much, not for quality, but to support a system that is falling apart at the seams. What nobody can agree on, however, is how to fix it. And how to fix it, the different theories and plans and suggestions on how to fix it was in a deadlock up until the conservatives took control of the White House, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. Whether you think that's a good idea or a bad idea, one thing that I now is waiting on is we have one side of the country saying we should do this and this and this thing to fix health care, and now they have the power to do it. Before, it was a bunch of people all arguing about how to fix it, and nothing gets done because they were like counterbalancing each other. And now we have one side of the argument with full control of the US government. Let's see what they do with it. Their ideas of how to fix healthcare financing. Will it work? I don't know. We're going to see me in 4 years. We'll check again in 4 years, see if their ideas of how to fix this will work. One way to know how well they're doing is these 4 qualities of a healthcare system, defined by the World Health Organization. I won't read it to you, you can read it for yourself, but these are the 4 attributes to know if you have a good healthcare system, or if your healthcare system is failing, and how are they failing, in what ways. So these are the 4. Test question. So anyway, some definitions now that you may run into as a patient or somebody, a loved one who is taking care of somebody who is being held. For example, mistakes happen in the hospital, and that should not be a surprise. It's a simple explanation is, oh, they're people, they're human beings. Human beings make mistakes. Human beings get lazy, human beings forget, and human beings are in charge of your healthcare, of your loved one's healthcare. So when a mistake happens, there's 2 ways. Iatrogenic means it's caused by the healthcare provider. If a surgeon cuts out the wrong kidney, that's iatrogenic. If they put in a suture, but then the suture loosens an hour later because they didn't tie it tightly enough or properly, that's iatrogenic. Nosocomial is it happened because you were in that hospital. So you went to the hospital because you broke a leg, and then while you're there, you picked up bloody diarrhea. What does a broken leg have to do with bloody diarrhea? Nothing. It's just that you happen to be in that hospital where Clostridium difficile was working its way around. How is it possible that you picked up an infection in the hospital? It happens. In fact, C. diff is famous for lurking in hospitals, and I don't have time to get into why, but it's a thing. So the fact that you went to that hospital on that day and now you have bloody diarrhea, it's because it's a nosocomial infection. It's a mistake. Recognizing that even doctors, even veteran, experienced healthcare providers can make mistakes, and we don't actually know everything. Doctors don't know everything. In the 1950s, there was a phrase, doctor knows best, so shut up and do what they tell you. Those days are long gone. It's not that medicine has gotten worse. Medicine knows a lot more now than ever before. They can do more now than ever before. But science has recognized, or society has recognized, that it's still that people do make mistakes and doctors make mistakes. So the highest authority has been returned to the patient, and that's autonomy. Patient autonomy is when the patient the patient has the final say. Of course, patients don't know medicine, they don't know anatomy, physiology, but after everything is fully explained to the patient, it's the patient who gives the final go, no go on the doctor's recommendations. Doctors no longer order things for the patient. Doctors only recommend, and then the patient can approve or not, or reject that recommendation. That's usually the case, but that means that the patient has to have the mental status to make a good decision. If the patient is so confused or out of it that they cannot make good judgment decisions, then obviously you cannot trust them. Especially if the patient is in danger of making a decision that is going to harm themselves or other people. The phrase is be a danger to themselves or others. Then you cannot trust it. And so actually outside of medicine, in the legal system, there's a phrase called decision-making capacity. And decision-making capacity is a legal term, although it's made by the doctor, actually two doctors, who have to sign their determination. But people who are like all there and can communicate and understand what's happening, they have decision-making capacity. If they are not all there, they don't understand what's going on, or they cannot communicate, or they are too young. So if they are a minor, then they don't have decision-making capacity, with a few exceptions. For example, if you tell somebody, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you have a very dangerous and very dangerous and viral disease, not viral, contagious. You have a very dangerous and contagious disease. You really need to stay in the hospital. And the person can say, no, you can't hold on to me. I have my rights. I'm a citizen of this U.S. You have to let me go. And then they can say, oh, no, you don't. We're not going to let you go, so you can go into the subway system and infect everybody in the car, in the subway car. No, you have to stay here. And we can call security to keep you here because you are a danger to others. You tell a doctor, like, Doc, I'm hearing voices in my head. And the doctor says, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. What are the voices telling you? To go kill my wife. The doctor is not allowed to say, okay, have a nice day. The doctor is going to say, oh, I see. Wait right here. I have to get somebody. And they're going to keep you there. So you are a danger to yourself or others. Doc, I'm here. I feel this urge to jump off a bridge. Why do you feel that? I don't know. I just feel this urge, like I can't get rid of it. All right, you are staying here in the hospital. You're not going home. So you are a danger to yourself or others. Other than that, you have autonomy. Triage is when there are so many patients and so few healthcare providers that they can't treat everybody at the same time. Now they have to prioritize by severity. If you've ever gone to the emergency room and waited in the ER for hours and hours and hours, what's happening is the triage nurse decided you can wait because somebody in a more severe situation was allowed to cut in front of you. That's what happened. So one way to look at your situation is, I can't believe they're making me wait. I thought this is an emergency room. Aren't they supposed to see me fast? Don't think of it that way. Think of it as, oh, I'm glad it's whatever I got is not that severe because they're making me wait this long. Because if they saw me right away, that's the time to worry. That's the time to start thinking, wait, what's wrong with me that you're seeing me right away? So that's triage. Okay. Consent. If you ever gone to any healthcare provider and they gave you a stack of papers to sign, and initial here, sign here, initial here, 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 sign here, these are all consent forms. What's supposed to happen is informed consent, meaning they explained everything to you, not only what is actually going on, the disease that's actually doing what it's doing to you, but also how exactly the therapy will help you, what we're going to do with this therapy, what are the advantages of going ahead with it, and what are the side effects if you did go ahead with it. All side effects must be explained to you in a way that you understand. If your English is not your first language, then there are translators for the most common languages in your local area. And then also explain what would happen to you if you refused, so that you can now make an informed decision. And that's informed consent. And then how do they prove that they did all this and they get you to sign something? That said, how many of you just got a piece of paper shoved in your face and they said, sign this, without even explaining anything? What happened there? Oh, well, humans, right? Humans get lazy, they make mistakes, which is why patients should always have the final autonomy, the go, no-go decision. Express consent is when you, the patient in some meaningful way signal that they agreed, that yes, they are willing to go ahead with it. Now, what if the patient is unable to understand or even unable to communicate? What if they're just flat out unconscious? Unconscious is actually an amateur generic term. The technical term in medicine is unresponsive. But anyway, this patient is you're unable to explain properly the situation, and the patient is unable to give consent. They don't have decision-making capacity. Then it's called implied consent. You can still go ahead and do it under implied consent, and the legal justification is that any reasonable person in that situation would have allowed you to go ahead and do it. For example, you walk into class one day and I'm lying on the ground and I'm pale, my skin looks wet, and my eyes are closed or open, and I'm just laying there. And after like giggling for a while, you finally decide, okay, it's not a joke, and you say, hey, Moon, are you okay? And I don't answer. And then you like kick my shoe, and I still don't move. And then finally, one of you who had been trained in CPR says, oh, and then comes up and does the steps and realize I'm in cardiac arrest. And now you're wondering, should I help him or not? Because we got an exam next week. I haven't really studied. So I should take care of a human being. You know, I spent a lot of money on this tuition, so you decide to do CPR. And then, wait, do I have his permission for me to to do CPR? Because what if he wakes up later and then sues me for like violating his consent? Well, you can do it. Okay? I'm telling you right now, go ahead and start compressions on me. So, because you don't even have to wait for me to tell you now, just that at the time it happens, go ahead and do compressions on me. I want you to do CPR because I'm a reasonable person, and if I ever go into cardiac arrest in the foreseeable future, I want you to do compressions. So that's implied consent. Beneficence is doing the right thing, acting in the best interest of your patient. Why would you not? Well, humans, right? Humans being humans, some people do things for their own interest and in violating their client's interest. So humans do that. So there is the ethical and legal requirement of beneficence. Do the right thing in your patient's best interest. Non-malfeasance is don't do the wrong thing. So first do no harm. And first do no harm is famous in healthcare as that thing from the Hippocratic Oath, although the modern Hippocratic Oath doesn't have it. It was taken out. But anyway, first do no harm is a founding principle of healthcare in this country or most of the world. Don't do things to somebody just because you got a new toy and you can't wait to use it, or you want to practice something. Only do things to people because it will actually help. The benefits outweigh the risks. You have authority, you have training. Don't do anything that you know will make the patient worse. Inpatient is when you stay overnight at a hospital. You get checked in, you get a bed, you change to a gown, you get that plastic bracelet around your wrist to make sure you are you. That's inpatient. Outpatient is you go to a clinic or hospital and only to visit. You're not staying there overnight. Your visit could be 30 minutes, it could be several hours, but either way, at the end of the day, you're going home. So that's outpatient. When you stay home and the healthcare provider comes to your home, that's home healthcare. Home healthcare would probably be the better option if possible, because that saves the patient transport cost and time. And some patients are so sick that the commute is stressing, so it reduces cost, reduces stress for that. However, it does mean that the provider has to spend cost to get to you, so that adds price that way. It's really best for people who cannot leave the house for whatever reason or another, cannot leave it safely. Okay, allopathic medicine. You're in the hospital and somebody shows up with a white coat and you look at their name badge and it says their name, MD. So, okay, doctor. So you ask, what kind of a doctor are you? And they say, I'm allopathic. Don't freak out. Allopathic means that MD. It means traditional Western medicine, the kind that has its foundation in the ancient Greek and Latin tradition, developed through the Renaissance. It is fully established in the European and American systems and pretty much all over the world. That is allopathic medicine. It's the MD. Anything else is complementary or alternative medicine. Alternative medicine literally means everything else, non-allopathic. But the problem is with the word everything else is that it includes everything, for all the way from established, proven therapies, all the way down to quacks, con artists, thieves, fakers, liars, cheats. Everybody's included. That's a problem, right? Because now you don't know what you're getting. Another problem with alternative medicine is even in the word. Alternate means instead of. So there's implication that when you go to going to an alternative medicine clinic, you're not supposed to go to your regular doctor, or you reject your main doctor, your allopathic doctor, so that you go to the alternative medicine doctors. And that just together, between the two, uncertain quality or legitimacy and having to choose one or the other, creates this bad reputation among alternative medicine, to the point where nowadays most alternative medicine providers don't say they're alternative, they say they are complementary. Complementary has a specific meaning. First of all, it has the letter E. Complement means matching to the other side. It's not with an I. Compliment with the letter I is saying something nice, like, oh, you look nice today. I just paid you a compliment. But when I compliment somebody with an E, it's like whatever they're strong in, I leave alone, but whatever they're weak in, I happen to be strong in. So their strength matches my weakness, their weakness matches my strength, so together we make a great team. That's complement. So right there in the name, they're saying, no, we don't mean don't go to your regular doctor. We're not telling you to not follow your regular doctor's recommendation, but but whatever your regular doctor is doing for you is not doing for you. Whatever you feel is inadequate or insufficient with your regular doctor, then come to us and we'll fill in the gaps. Principle of complementary medicine, or what you will see in most complementary medicine, is holistic care. Holistic is a fancy word for looking at the big picture, everything about the patient. That is contrast to allopathic medicine. Allopathic medicine is all about problem solving. Zero in on the problem, the complaint. You ask the patient, what's up? And the patient says, doc, it hurts when I do that. Okay, let's focus in on those relevant body parts to why it hurts when you do that. And then they take care of it, and then off you go. For those of you who have been to your regular doctor's checkup, and if you don't have another, like an ongoing chronic situation, but you're just there just to make sure everything is still okay, how long did the doctor spend with you? I'm not talking about the waiting room. That could be hours. But when you finally get in there and the doctor walks into your exam room, how long did that doctor stay in there to talk to you? Anybody relate your experience? What? 10 minutes? Okay. Anybody else? Less than 5? That's barely enough to say, hey, how are you doing? Wow. That's fast. He basically just said, anything new? No? Okay. So at urgent care, the actual doctor was 5 minutes. Oh yeah, well, so if they do a full head to toe, then it's involved. It's a full head to toe usually is part of like the initial visit to start the relationship, start the doctor-patient relationship. So get a baseline. That's understandable. Yeah. Okay. In the corners. How long did it take? How long was your experience? 25 minutes typically. Sometimes there's nothing to say, so it's just hi, how you doing? I'm still alive. Okay, so typically the experience is around 15 minutes on average, so plus or minus 5. And if the patient is really concerned about what their condition is, that doesn't sound like much. In fact, a common complaint among allopathic patients is they feel treated like a number. They feel treated like a box on a conveyor belt or on an assembly line, because you wait in the waiting room for like an hour, 2 hours, past your appointment time. Like your appointment was 2:00, and then the doctor doesn't see you till 4:00, so you're in there for 2 hours, and then you finally get inside, and then a medical assistant chaperones you to the exam room, maybe like gives you a change of clothes, takes like some of the simplest measurements and readings like weight, pulse ox, and then the nurse comes in. They may even get like blood pressure. The nurse comes in and does some like more involved things and asks you some questions about how you're doing, and then so that's like 10 minutes there. And then finally, 10 minutes or 15 minutes later, the doctor finally shows up and then talks to you for about 15 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes. And then, okay, all right, that's good, see you later, and then leaves. So what the hell is going on? Well, it's all about corporate efficiency. Even though the appearance seems like a doctor's office, what you're really experiencing is a corporate system. The owner of that clinic, the owner of that hospital is a bunch of MBAs, and they are treating it like a factory operation. How to reduce costs, how to maximize productivity, utilization rates. And so a doctor who is the most expensive resource there, they're trying to use the doctor's time as much as possible to do pure thinking. So all of that legwork, all of that manual work is done by other people who cost less. The doctor gets in there, gets the data, and then makes a decision, and then off he goes to the next patient. He just jumps across the hallway to the next room, does it again. So they're maximizing utilization of the doctor's education and training to make the decisions. The nurse, who is paid less, is doing the skilled manual work. And then the medical assistant, who is paid the least, is even less than the secretary outside. They're doing the chaperoning, and they are ironically spending the most time with the patient. And it's economical because they're paid the least. So you pay the employee who is paid the least to spend the most time with the patient. It's this capitalist corporate system leaves people feeling like a box on an assembly line. The holistic, so the doctor finally sees you, and he says, how are you doing? And you tell him, you know what, my dad has been on my case, my grades are not so great, and he says he's tired of paying my tuition, he wants me to drop out of school, get a job, but I feel like I can still make it and get my degree. And the doctor is starting to roll his eyes. He's like, I really meant, how's the foot doing? And because the doctor doesn't want to hear that. So that's, again, like, there's something important to you, important about your life you want to talk about, and the doctor won't let you because the doctor wants to focus in on the problem only. The holistic approach is the complete opposite. These folks do want to hear about how's it going at home. They do want to hear about the stresses in your life, or the joys, or how are things doing in your life. Your relationships with family and friends and significant others. How are things going at work? Having a good time there, or is something bothering you at work? Because these all do feed into this overall person's health. It's the holistic approach. And that's actually based on something very true. Because from the very first lecture this semester, I've been teaching, and I repeated it again several times. Health is not just the absence of physical complaints. It is a complete wellness in 3 areas. And I tested it exam 1, tested it on exam 2, and it will show up on the final exam again. So back there, you didn't know the first question. Here's your time to recover. What's one of them? Health is wellness in 3 areas. Name one of them. Mental, correct. Somebody makes, now you know, the rest of you now figured out where I'm going with this. So what's another one? Social, and then finally, physical, yes. So no wonder so actually it is a good idea to ask, how are things at home? How are things at work? Because it all feeds in to somebody's overall health. But unfortunately, in the allopathic system, they just don't have time for that. Their corporate overlords do not allow them to spend time, sit and just have a conversation to know it's really getting to not just the root cause, but all the way down into the bottom roots, into the ground level, the foundation of their well-being. But holistic medicine does have time. You make an appointment with some kind of complementary medical provider, and it's not just for 10 minutes. They actually they'll sit with you for an hour. It's an appointment for an hour. And it's not like you go there and you wait for 2 hours to talk to them. They'll see you right away. So people walk away from a complementary medicine provider feeling like somebody listened to them. Somebody treated them like a human being. They are really there to assess your situation, to mental well-being, social well-being, physical well-being, but the patient doesn't know that. They just walk away. They just left feeling like they actually got their most important high priority concerns and got them addressed. So that's something that allopathic medicine cannot provide and complementary medicine can do. But now what? They walk away feeling better, feeling heard, and that causes their body to actually feel better. They walk away feeling listened to, and they cause their body to feel better. To me, that sounds like the placebo effect. So you walk in with your back pain, an hour later, you walk out thinking that your back feels much better. And I can show you data, research data, double-blind trials saying that what you just went through is no medical benefit. But you don't care. You actually think you feel better because of the placebo effect. What happens now? You tell your friend or family member, I just came from this office. Oh my God, they were like touch of an angel, and I feel so much better now. So what's going to happen now? Your friend or family member who likes you, you have a very solid relationship between the two of you. That means then that whatever defense shields, force fields, suspicions they have of total strangers, you have this direct pathway into their mind. There are no shields up against you. You have wide open access to each other. So when you give an opinion and you say, this doctor I just went to, they know everything. That doctor is awesome. They treat me like a person, and I feel so much better now. My back feels better. The pain is completely gone. And so that continues the placebo effect. And that now your friend goes to that clinician, has all of these positive comments in their mind from somebody they trust and respect, which is you, and that continues the placebo effect. Other advantages, other benefits or attractions of the complementary medicine is things like, well, first of all, it's cheaper. A doctor's appointment is very expensive. They're always crowded. Sometimes you have to wait for an appointment. And then when you get there, there's a copay, but then you get the rest of the bill in the mail. And then your insurance only covers part of it, and you have to pay for something like $100 for blood tests. So it gets very expensive. Complementary medicine, they charge you, but not that much. So it's cheaper, and so it's much more attractive to people who are struggling to make a living. So complementary medicine is much more attractive to people in the lower social income levels. It's less invasive. There's less needles, unless you count acupuncture needles, but it's a completely different thing. And there's less prescription medications, so less pain involved. And most of the time, they leave that visit feeling so much better. And then finally, many of these complementary medicine providers are based on the culture. So it's not a new idea for the patient. They may have come from the same culture, and so it's been part of the tradition in their culture for hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, like acupuncture. Acupuncture among the Asian American community is much more accepted, prevalent, because that's what they did in the home country. Their grandparents talked about it. Their grandparents believed in it. Their grandparents pushed them or encouraged them to go see an acupuncturist when their regular doctor doesn't seem to be fixing the problem. So all of that is attracting people to the complementary medicine. That's just the best ones. But since it's like everybody else, that category called everybody else will include crooks, thieves, con artists, liars, people just trying to push a product, whether the product works or not, or even if the product is harmful, they don't care as long as they make their money. So how are you supposed to know the difference? And that's where the research comes in. That's there's no time to drop your defenses just because your friend or family member, somebody you really trust and respect, recommends it. That's not a reason for you to drop your defenses. You keep your critical cap on, your critical goggles on, and look at things carefully. Does anything sound like BS? Does it sound like they're trying to fog you over with fancy music or pretty colors? And there are organizations that track some of these alternative providers, like this one. And here's their website. So I'm not saying all of these are fake. Some of these might be true. Some of these might have a kernel of truth or a reality that is not yet understood by Western science. But some of them may not be. Sorry, not really sure. So the end result is buyer beware. It's called, the Latin version is caveat emptor, but it's now buyer beware. And it's just like when you buy a used car. It's just like when you're buying clothing. It's buyer beware. The advertisers will claim a lot of things, but you have to be careful what you'll actually believe. And especially true for supplements, the things that are sold in bottles, because there are some providers, some sellers, who will literally just sell you bottles of water. That's it. That's all that's in it. Bottles of water. But the wrapper, the carton, the labeling is all very fancy. The ingredients sound very sciencey. And for me, who's had decades of education and training, I can read those ingredients and realize it's all a bunch of BS, hogwash. But for somebody who's never had that, never even took chemistry in school, or even biology, how are they supposed to know the difference? All they know is that their dear loved one swears by it and are encouraging them to use it. And so there's a powerful placebo effect going on. That's pretty much what's supporting some of these supplement companies, just placebo effect. So if you search for it, like, do these things actually work on the internet, then you will get a lot of claims, like page after page of search results of claims, but very little actual science research on it. And the very few science research that does come up is coincidentally funded by the company. Like, the company provided the money for this research that proves that what they're selling actually works. So no wonder. Okay, so some actual complementary medicines that run the range of credibility. For example, osteopathy is good. Osteopathy is well respected by Western science. They have proven themselves. In fact, a DO, which is the letters that come after a name of a doctor of osteopathy, they actually work in U.S. hospitals. They have privileges in U.S. hospitals. They work alongside MDs. You're in the hospital for something very serious, and then into your little room comes somebody in a white coat, and you read their badge, and it says John Smith, DO. Don't freak out. They know what they're doing. They deserve to be there. You're in good hands. DO has proven itself. It started a long time ago in the U.S., and they started with a holistic focus, and osteo sounds like bone, so they were a bone-focused profession, but they did have the holistic view. But time went on, history went on, and they've proven themselves again and again. So it's good. Having a DO is good. Chiropractor, not so much. Okay, again, chiropractor sounds like working with bones. Yes, they're the famous backcrackers, in social media, you see videos of them cracking people's backs. Not so well proven by science whether it's good. It's pretty much, like when you crack your knuckles. I used to be able to do this. I know, with age or something, my knuckles don't pop anymore. But it's pretty much that. And there is some science on it, but not much, not really definitive, has not been definitively proven. So they don't get permissions in the hospital. They don't get hired into the hospital. Instead, after graduating from chiropractic school, they go set up a small business. They rent out a room in a strip mall, they put up a sign, and then they make it look like a legit healthcare clinic, but what all they're really doing is cracking your back. And there is a satisfaction in getting your neck and head and back popped. There is this feeling, well, that's why some people crack their knuckles, because it feels good to do it. So people walk away with that. By the way, their customer service is excellent because it's holistic, right? They want to hear about your story. They want you to take whatever is bothering you and get it off your chest. And that is therapeutic in itself. It feels so good to talk to an apparently expert on the things that worry you. It's very reassuring that way. And then you get your bones popped, cracked, and then you leave feeling so much better. They listened to you, they took care of you. So a lot of it, I think, is placebo. I'm not saying, I should say that for the record, I don't know if they are a complete scam. I don't know. I don't know enough about chiropractic to say if it is legit or a scam. It is just beeping on my BS radar. That's all I can say. All right. Homeopathy is selling bottles of water. There are two main principles of homeopathy. That water retains memory, and that like cures like. So if you're suffering from a poison, the best thing to do for you is to introduce more of the poison into you. How does that make sense? I don't know. That's what they're saying. But obviously, giving you more poison is bad, right? So how do you introduce poison into your body so your body can learn from it to cure itself? Well, water retains memory. So if you put the poison into like a jug of water and mix it up, and now the water has memory of that poison, and now you take a drop of that water, put it into another jug of water and mix it up, and then take a drop of that, put it into another jug and mix it up, and take a drop of that and put it into another jug and mix it up. Eventually, statistically, not a single molecule of the original poison is in the final jug. But theoretically, the water contains memory of that poison. And now you bottle it, you sell it, and whoever is complaining of that problem will drink it. They will gain the memory from that bottle of water, and the body will cure itself. So those are the two principles. To that, the National Institutes of Health.gov says their key concepts are inconsistent with chemistry and physics. The FDA does not evaluate remedies for safety or effectiveness. So the FDA is not in charge of making sure drugs say what the producers claim. They are only in charge of making sure what's sold to the public is not harmful. So the FDA says, what are you doing? And these homeopathy companies say, oh, we're selling bottles of water, that's all. And the FDA says, oh, okay, it's just water? All right, go ahead. That's it, that's all it does. It doesn't prove that it works. But it's not actually pure water, it's substantial amounts of other things that could cause side effects. And there's little evidence to support it has an effective treatment. So if you are a lawyer for the homeopathy companies, don't sue me. I'm just quoting what's here in this article. So I used to ask who here uses homeopathy. but I realized that after getting that survey, then I immediately slam the concept. So I won't embarrass you, but I'm saying that you're drinking bottles of water and then you're convincing yourself that it actually works, which means you're tricking your body into thinking something good happened and you feel better. So that's placebo. Placebo is powerful. Placebo is everywhere. Take it seriously and don't underestimate it. Don't think I'm too smart for. I grew up in the streets. Nobody can fool me. No, you are a human being. Therefore, you are vulnerable to placebo. That's why ethical, clear research is needed. Wise research is needed to verify if some claim is true or not. So those were just a very few examples of what's out there. But like I said, one of the big draws of complementary medicine and supplements is that it's cheaper. It's cheaper than allopathic medicine and prescription drugs. So once again, let's go back to this idea of we're paying the most out of any nation in the world. Are we getting the best? And no, we're not. Why not? Because it's capitalism. Our healthcare is based on capitalism, supply and demand. And that is the argument anyway for people supporting the status as is, that we are a capitalist country, therefore healthcare must be able to pay for itself. The problem is that healthcare decisions are not actually true economics 101 supply and demand. If you want a Ferrari, then you have to get the money together to afford a Ferrari. If you decide if you realize you don't have that kind of money, then you don't get a Ferrari. That's all. It's that simple. That's capitalism, supply and demand. But if you have cancer and you need a certain medication or you will die, then it doesn't matter what it costs. You will find the money somehow. Even if you bankrupt your future, it doesn't matter because it'll keep you alive so you can stick around to worry about bankruptcy. At least you are able to survive another day. That is not capitalism. That's something completely different. So that's a problem with the analogy of capitalism when you apply it to healthcare. People will buy things for their health because they have to. It's not like they have a choice. I go to the gym not because it's fun, because I have to. So even though I don't want to, I'm tired, it's been a long day, but I go because I have to. So that it comes down to then, what is healthcare in terms of the people of this country? Can it be a right or a privilege? Buying things through a capitalist system is a privilege. You want a Lamborghini? Well, you got to pay for it. If you don't get the money, you don't get a Lamborghini. That's called privilege. You only buy what you can afford. But is that healthcare? Should healthcare be a privilege? And I think most people will say no. No, like the sickest, the poorest, they deserve healthcare too, even though they can't afford it. Then is it a right? It's like, whoa, what is this R word? And the right, for example, there are 3 rights in the U.S. Declaration of Independence: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Happiness is not a right, but the pursuit of happiness is a right. So you cannot sue the U.S. government because you're not happy. That's not a right. But you can sue the U.S. government if they inhibit your pursuit of happiness. Then you have an argument. If you can find a lawyer and who will argue your side of the story. So those are the 3 rights. Should healthcare be one of the rights? And the debate, that's the debate. The debate is kind of moot right now with the administration of the next 4 years, because they're going to say, no, it's not a right. That's their point of view. But the debate will reemerge after 4 years later. 5 years from now, the debate will come back up, which is, should healthcare be a right? And the side that's coming into power next month will say it's not a right, It has to be justified. We cannot afford health care for everybody. So healthcare has to be profitable on its own. Okay, we cannot subsidize it. But then there are some things that this country does that is subsidized, and it's good for the country, and those things are not required to support itself, such as the military. Nobody's asking the U.S. military to run a profit. In fact, they're running zero profit. It's pure cost. But most people agree that it's worth it. Not everybody, because some people say, war, what is it good for? Nothing. So there are those folks, but the rest of the people says a strong military is worth it. It's worth investing in. And having the best military in the world has actually resulted in our standard of living today. Whether you are pro-military or anti, the fact remains that the hairdryer and the electricity to run your hairdryer is a result of a strong military compared to the alternatives that would have been. So we do have the strongest military in the world, and that creates it results in creature comforts that we enjoy today, as well as other things we enjoy as U.S. citizens. So our military is worth supporting, subsidizing, even though it's not profitable. Transportation is worth subsidizing, even though it's not profitable. And you may say, wait, profitable? Of course it's profitable. Do you know how much they charge me to come to school today? It's going crazy. The bus pass and the tolls on the bridge and the price of gas, it's going crazy. Of course, no, it's not. The trillions of dollars it costs to maintain our travel infrastructure is nowhere near supported completely by the tolls and the tickets and the gas tax. Most of the money supporting our transportation system comes from federal funds and state funds too. And it's worth it. Having the transportation system that we have is supercharging our economy, makes life very convenient. You want to go visit your grandparents this holiday, go ahead, go right ahead. There's nothing in your way. It adds to the quality of life, the strength of this nation. So it's worth it to pour money into transportation, even though they can't pay it back. We're not going to get much of that back. So some say then healthcare should be like that. Instead of requiring healthcare providers to run a profit, or they don't exist, instead the government should subsidize healthcare, because a healthier citizenship creates a healthier population, creates a more productive nation. So it's worth it to invest in. And some other countries, actually most developed countries, went that route, and they have what's called universal health care. So the gist of it is that when you go to a clinic or hospital, or you get sick for any reason in these countries, you get taken care of, and then on the way out, you pay nothing. There's no copay, there's no medical bill, nothing comes in the mail, nothing. You get treated. Some say it's free, but that, in quotes, because that's not true free, right? Where does the money had to come from somewhere? Where did it come from? It came from their taxes. So the citizens' taxes paid for all of that health care that they then don't pay for when they actually get sick. So their taxes, their income taxes, are very high. Can go up to like 50%. 50% of their salary is taken out of their paycheck before they can take it home. How much do you guys pay in income tax? Like 10%, 20%, like that? Some of you are little as 5%. Imagine taking only half of your paycheck home. The rest of it goes to the government. So before you say, none of that. Okay, I make too little as it is. I am not paying for other people's health care. Remember that if you ever do get sick, you will never get a medical bill. Ambulance rides today are $1,000 to start, and then anything they do for you in the ambulance is added on. And if you don't have insurance to cover for it, you're going to pay it. But if your country had universal health care, you don't pay for the ambulance. You don't pay for the ER. You don't pay for a hospital stay. It's all already paid for out of your taxes every 2 weeks in your paycheck. And that was the hope for the U.S., for the America, and when Bill Clinton was in charge. But so they tried that, and then it failed because this country was founded on anti-tax. Literally, that's why the American Revolution happened, in a revolt against British taxes. So it's going to be a hard sell to try to bring universal health coverage here into this country. Every 4 years, somebody tries, and it's not happening this time because the Republicans are now in charge of the White House, the Senate, and the House. They are in complete control of this country. They will and their whole voter base strongly believes in less taxes. So there's no way more taxes are going to be passed, or that's what they claim. I was about to go political, but I have to bite my tongue. They promise to have less taxes when they're in charge. So we'll see. So the result is that today we pay the most for healthcare than any other country, but we don't get the best because the capitalist system has resulted in these inefficiencies that cause a lot of waste. And also, a lot of this money doesn't go into quality health care. It goes into corporate officers' pockets, CEOs' pockets, MBAs' pockets, salary bonuses, all of that, to run healthcare like a corporation, and it doesn't end up in our. So to help pay for medical bills, we have something called health insurance. How many of you have health insurance? Really? Oh. How many of you have it through your parents? How many of you have it through work? So mostly parents. Okay. When you get out there, for your own and work, find a job and support yourself completely, then you have to buy health insurance somehow. Try not to live life without health insurance, because one day a big bad will happen and you're going to get a $250,000 emergency bill, and that's it, you're done. Financially, you're done. Your credit rating is trashed, you're done. So try to maintain health insurance. The problem is that with health insurance today, getting a good one is hard to find unless you are working for a good company. 2 years ago, I was lucky enough to be promoted here into full-time work, so now I get the CUNY, City University of New York, City Employee Health Insurance. And so it's very affordable to me now. But a month before I signed the contract to be a full-time here, I got a letter from the Obamacare plan I was on saying that my premium was going to go up to $600 a month. Actually around $640 a month. And that just made my eyes pop out of my head, because I was like paying $500 a month up to that point. And when this all started, I was paying only $200 a month. So $640 a month. I can't imagine living like that, especially on my part-time salary that I had at the time. So that's premium. What's a premium? It's like this. This is a hypothetical insurance company. It's not a real company. I just made up a random name. It's just the 3 letters sound funny, because just say it 3 times fast, see if I care. And so that's the insurance company. And then here's how they make money, because it's a company, right? They exist to make profit. They are not there to make the world a better place. They are not there to bring smiles to children's faces. They are there to make money. So the money comes into the company with premiums. The more people they have as a member, the more premiums they get. And then the money comes out of the company through claims. somebody gets sick, gets a medical bill, they file a claim, so money comes out. And then other operating costs, and the rest is profit. So the more healthy people they have putting premiums into the company, the more money they get. The less sick people they have pulling money out of the company, the more money they keep. And that's how they make a buck. Before Obamacare, one way to keep the number of sick people low is to not allow them to buy insurance in the first place, and that's called pre-existing condition. If you have any chronic disease, asthma, high blood pressure, obesity, of course cancer, then you are not allowed to buy health care from them. They would not sell you health insurance. If during membership you got a chronic disease, then they will cancel your membership. Like not immediately, but when it's time to renew, they will refuse to renew it. So they keep the number of sick people low. Also, they made you take a physical exam and doctor's exam before you signed up to make sure you're healthy. Because if something negative come up, then they would refuse to sell you health insurance. So what about people who were sick? What are they supposed to do? Well, either they paid through the nose for a premium, or they didn't get insurance at all. They just paid it out of pocket. $250,000 cancer bills, paid it on their own. What about people who didn't have that kind of money? They're in this never-ending cycle of debt, bankruptcy, just trying to survive. Here are some more definitions. I won't go into it, but for those of you who have your own health insurance, these are very familiar. For those of you who don't have it yet, get to know these, because it's something you're going to have to deal with once you get out there and start to support yourself. So to answer this situation, there was Obamacare, the nickname for the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act under President Obama. And the point was to make anybody who wanted health care, make it affordable for them to buy it, which immediately was rejected by the insurance companies, because this Obamacare was saying this list of sick people here on this side is allowed to now expand to anybody who wants in. So they were afraid that money would just start pouring out of the company like an open dam, and it will drain them pretty quickly, so they rejected it or tried to kill it. And they were successful in killing it for a while. So the architects said, okay. Here's a solution. Two parts. First of all, anybody who wants health insurance can buy it. But now, to maintain the money going into the company, there's a second part. Everybody in the U.S. must buy health insurance, whether you are healthy or not, whether you want it or not. It is now the law. You must buy health insurance, or you will get a penalty. You will pay a penalty refusing to buy health insurance. That way, instead of tens of thousands of people paying premiums, now we have 300 million Americans all paying premiums into the company. That's a ton of money, a tsunami of money pouring into the company. Now, anytime any one of them gets sick and files a claim, there's enough money to pay everybody who's sick. And to sweeten the pot, the federal government will also add money on top into the company and subsidize people to pay for health insurance if they don't have enough money. And that is Obamacare. So the insurance company said, okay, that sounds doable. We can still make profits off of that. We can still get filthy rich with this idea, so let's go with it. Now, as it came out, how many of you, well, all of you said you are in your parents' insurance. Ask your parents how they felt about Obamacare, and many of them will say they hated it because many of them were healthy, they were young. This is 2010, right? 14 years ago. They did not want to buy health insurance, but the government was forcing them to. So it's like, this is taxation without representation. We should revolt. We should start a civil war. So a lot of people, a lot of people, especially the conservatives, hated it. They were frustrated. They wanted this change, and so the next person to be president after Barack Obama, one of their campaign promises was, "We will get rid of this HEF." They promised, if you don't want to buy health insurance, you don't have to, and there's no penalty. And his voters said, "Yay!" and they were very happy to hear it. So then the critics said, "Wait, but if you keep in part one," because people who were sick started worrying, "Wait, if he becomes president, will I lose health insurance? Who will pay for my health insurance? I mean, who will pay for my claims?" So that guy said, "Don't worry, we'll figure out how to have part one without part two." That was the promise. So what happened? Nothing. Nothing was found. No solution was found. Sure enough, he got Congress to repeal part two. So today, you don't want health insurance, you don't have to buy it. But this part still is in there. If you want health insurance, you can buy it. So wait, wasn't that going to cause bankruptcy on the health insurance companies? What happened? Well, the health insurance companies did two things. Since the number of people who were paying premiums shrank by a lot, what they did was they increased the premiums for the people who were still a member. And that's why my health insurance and Obamacare, I had the bronze level, the cheapest level, went from $200 a month, and over the next few years, it kept rising to $640 a month, which is when I quit, which is when I left that. So that sounds like that insurance company that I was part of lost 2/3 of their members because my premium went up 3 times. So that's one way. And the other way is some insurance companies just closed business. They just said, "We cannot run a profit this way. We have to keep paying money to claims on sick people, but we're not getting new members of healthy people. That's it. We give up. We're going somewhere else." And many counties, many states in the United States now only have one provider. There used to be a competitive market. Competition keeps prices down, but instead everybody else left. There was only one left, and now as a monopoly, for those of you who take economics 101, you'll understand, monopoly allows them to now ratchet up prices as high as they want, and the premiums there are astronomical. So much so that people can't even afford the premiums, and now they're stuck without health insurance. Either they have to find work, a full-time job, so that they can get their company's health insurance, or they just pay cash for their medical bills. That's the state. So anyway, everybody agrees that health financing is broken in this country. Nothing was done because the two sides were at a stalemate, arguing with each other over how to fix it. Well, now we have one side of the argument in complete control of the US government. They can now do what they claim they will do. Say what you will about who's going to be in power next month, but one thing I can say is I hope he succeeds. I hope he turns out to be correct and he's able to fix it. He and the people he put in power are able to fix it. Anyway, managed care is different ways of health insurance to help keep down costs. It's a matter of flexibility versus cost. The stricter they are, which is inconvenient for you, but the stricter they are, the more they can drive down prices with discounts. But if you want a more flexible plan, then you have to pay more, because that's where you don't get the savings. Medicare and Medicaid, test question, they're often confused by people who don't use it. Medicare is for Americans who are over 65 years old. Medicaid is for Americans who are low income. Neither of them pay for their health care. Wait, that sounds familiar. You go somewhere, you get treated, and then you pay nothing on the way out? That sounds like universal health care. Well, so there is. We have a version of universal health care in this country. It's for people over 65 and people under a certain income level. Where does this money come from? Taxes. Next time you look at your pay stub, read it carefully. A little bit of money of your income is taken out for Medicare, a little bit is taken out for Medicaid. So we do have a version of universal health care in this country, but only for a select groups of Americans, not for everybody. And one argument is, see, we're already doing it. Why not just expand it to all of Americans? And then the counter argument is, we can't afford it, we don't have the money. And the counter argument is, American health is worth investing in. It's not a privilege. Healthcare should be a right. Anyway, that debate is now moot because the Republicans are now in full control. The debate will not resurface again until 5 years or 3 years from now, as the campaign season ramps up for the next presidential election. Prescription drugs are also ridiculously expensive here in the US. Why? Because they can. We are in a capitalist system. Pharmaceutical companies can charge what they want, whatever the market will bear. So they increase price, see who's willing to pay it. They are, okay, increase it again, see who's willing to pay it. The problem is that it's not a Ferrari, it's not a Lamborghini they're selling. It's things that keep people alive. So of course they're willing to pay it no matter how much they charge. It's not what they call an elastic price. These drugs cost nowhere near this much in other countries, especially countries with universal health care. Because what happens is, let's go back a few slides. This universal health care, oh, did I jump through it? Is also called single payer. I wrote it somewhere. Universal health care is also called single payer. Who is the single payer? The government. So instead of marketing their money to individual patients, the pharmaceuticals have to make their sales pitch to one person, the government. And so the government, the country, says, I don't want to pay that. You try that. You go to the CVS or Rite Aid and say, this drug is too expensive, I don't want to pay that. What are they going to tell you? Tough. Go somewhere else. We're not going to sell it to you. This is our price. But if the entire country says, the price you're charging for this drug is too high, we're not going to pay it. And if the pharmaceutical says, well, that's the price we're charging, and the country is going to say, oh, well, I'm sorry, we couldn't come to an agreement. You cannot sell here. Goodbye. What's that drug company going to go do? They're going to say, wait. Let's not get hasty here. Maybe we can come to an agreement. And they negotiate it down. The country negotiates it down. That's single payer. That's the power of collective bargaining. We don't have that in this country. It's every patient for themselves. And so the price can be ratcheted up out of their control. Now the pharmaceuticals argue we have to charge this much in this country because it costs so much to develop drugs. Only 1 out of 10 drugs actually go to market. The other 9 drugs cost billions of dollars to develop and then goes nowhere with it. We have to make our money back somewhere. The problem is with that argument that pharmaceuticals have a $300 billion profit per year, according to the U.S. Government Accounting Office. So their claims of poor little old me is running a little flat. They're charging as much as they can because they can. That's pretty much it here. Okay, so the last slide before you run out of here to enjoy your Thanksgiving is what do you do after hearing all of this? Because it can be kind of discouraging, is educate yourself. Research, look out, and then be aware of the patient's Bill of Rights. That's a homework assignment. Know your patient's Bill of Rights is to look it up, list it in the homework assignment, and then show me the link to where you got it from. Some of you don't show the link, even though I expressly told you to do it, and then you lose that point. So find the link to one. It should be readily available. What good is a patient Bill of Rights if it's hard to find? So it's easy for patients to find, so you can find it. Just go and look, and then write down what you see. And then finally, be a proactive patient. Proactive means take action yourself. Don't be passive. Don't wait for the doctor to tell you something and you go, oh, okay. Do your own research. Use a critical eye. Remember that social media influencers are there just to use you to make money. And be prepared for your doctor's visits. Here's a phrase I use all the time. The best time to fix a roof is on a sunny day. Don't wait until it's raining to decide to fix the hole in your roof, even though that's when the leak in the ceiling is the most problematic. You wait until it's sunny and dry to fix the roof. So don't wait until you or your loved one is having a medical emergency. If you or your loved one has a medical situation, know as much about it as you can while everything is calm and quiet, and you have time to look into this, so that when there is a medical emergency, you're not suddenly, desperately making decisions on spur of the moment, on pure emotion. Righty, well, like I said, have a happy Thanksgiving, and whoever is behind, use this holiday to catch up on work.